post-presidency. After leaving office, Kalem became a visiting professor at the Indian Institute of Management Shillong, the Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad, and the Indian Institute of Management Indore, an honorary fellow of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Chancellor of the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology Thiruvananthapuram, Professor of Aerospace Engineering at Anna University, and an adjunct at many other academic and research institutions across India. He taught information technology at the International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, and technology at Banaras Hindu University and Anna University. In May 2012, Kalem launched a program for the youth of India called the What Can I Give movement, with the central theme of defeating corruption. In 2011, Kalem was criticized by civil groups over his stand on the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. He supported the establishment of the nuclear power plant and was accused of not speaking with the local people. The protesters were hostile to his visit as they saw him as a pro-nuclear scientist and were unimpressed by the assurances he provided regarding the safety features of the plant. Death. Kalem at Bijanar a week before his death. On July 27, 2015, Kalem travelled to Shillong to deliver a lecture on creating a livable planet Earth at the Indian Institute of Management Shillong. While climbing a flight of stairs, he experienced some discomfort, but was able to enter the auditorium after a brief rest. At around 6:35 p.m. IST, only 5 minutes into his lecture, he collapsed. He was rushed to the nearby Bethany Hospital in a critical condition. Upon arrival, he lacked a pulse or any other signs of life. 85 Despite being placed in the intensive care unit, Kalem was confirmed dead of a sudden cardiac arrest at 7:45 p.m. IST. His last words, to his aide Srijan Pal Singh, were reportedly, "Funny guy. Are you doing well?" Following his death, Kalem's body was airlifted in an Indian Air Force helicopter from Shillong to Guwahati, from where it was flown to New Delhi on the morning of July 28 in an Air Force C-130J Hercules. The flight landed at Palam Air Base that afternoon and was received by the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, Chief Minister of Delhi Arvind Kejriwal, and the 3 service chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces, who laid wreaths on Kalem's body. His body was then placed on a gun carriage draped with the Indian flag and taken to his Delhi residence at 10 Rajaji Marg. There, the public and numerous dignitaries paid homage, including former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Congress President Sonia Gandhi and Vice President Rahul Gandhi, and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav. On the morning of July 29, Kalem's body, wrapped in the Indian flag, was taken to Palam Air Base and flown to Madurai in an Air Force C-130J aircraft, arriving at Madurai Airport that afternoon. His body was received at the airport by the 3 service chiefs and national and state dignitaries, including Cabinet Ministers Manohar Parrikar, Venkaiah Naidu, Pon Radhakrishnan, and the governors of Tamil Nadu and Meghalaya, K. Rosaya and B. Shanmuganathan. After a brief ceremony, Kalem's body was flown by Air Force helicopter to the town of Mandapam, from where it was taken in an army truck to his hometown of Rameswaram. Upon arriving at Rameswaram, his body was displayed in an open area in front of the local bus station to allow the public to pay their final respects until 8 p.m. that evening. On July 30, 2015, the former president was laid to rest at Rameswaram's Pay Karumbu ground with full state honors. Over 350,000 people attended the last rites, including the Prime Minister, the Governor of Tamil Nadu and the Chief Ministers of Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh. Reactions. India reacted to Kalem's death with an outpouring of grief. Numerous tributes were paid to the former president across the nation and on social media. The Government of India declared a 7-day state mourning period as a mark of respect. President Pranab Mukherjee, Vice President Hamid Ansari, Home Minister Ravnath Singh, and other leaders condoled the former president's demise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said Kalem's death is a great loss to the scientific community. He took India to great heights. He showed the way. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, who had served as Prime Minister under Kalem, said, our country has lost a great human being who made phenomenal contributions to the promotion of self-reliance in defense technologies. I worked very closely with Dr. Kalam as Prime Minister and I greatly benefited from his advice as President of our country. His life and work will be remembered for generations to come. ISRO Chairman A.S. Kiran Kumar called his former colleague a great personality and a gentleman, while former Chairman G. Madhavan Nair described Kalam as a global leader for whom the downtrodden and poor people were his priority. He always had a passion to convey what is in his mind to the young generation, adding that his death left a vacuum which none could fill. South Asian leaders expressed condolences and lauded the late statesman. The Bhutanese government ordered the country's flags to fly at half-staff to mourn Kalam's death and lit 1,000 butter lamps in homage. Bhutanese Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay expressed deep sadness, saying Kalam was a leader greatly admired by all people, especially the youth of India who have referred to him as the people's president. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina described Kalam as a rare combination of a great statesman, acclaimed scientist, and a source of inspiration to the young generation of South Asia and termed his death an irreparable loss to India and beyond. Bangladesh Nationalist Party chief Khaleda Zia said as a nuclear scientist, he engaged himself in the welfare of the people. Ashraf Ghani, the president of Afghanistan, called Kalam an inspirational figure to millions of people, noting that we have a lot to learn from his life. Nepalese Prime Minister Sushil Koirala recalled Kalam's scientific contributions to India. Nepal has lost a good friend and I have lost an honored and ideal personality. The President of Pakistan, Mamnoon Hussain, and Prime Minister of Pakistan Nawaz Sharif also expressed their grief and condolences on his death. The President of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, also expressed his condolences. Dr. Kalam was a man of firm conviction and indomitable spirit, and I saw him as an outstanding statesman of the world. His death is an irreparable loss not only to India but to the entire world. Maldivian President Abdullah Yameen and Vice President Ahmed Adib condoled Kalam's death, with Yameen naming him as a close friend of the Maldives who would continue to be an inspiration to Indians and generations of South Asians. Former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, who had made an official visit to India during Kalam's presidency, termed his demise as a great loss to all of humankind. The Commander-in-Chief of the Myanmar Armed Forces, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, expressed condolences on behalf of the Myanmar government. The Dalai Lama expressed his sadness and offered condolences and prayers, calling Kalam's death an irreparable loss. Kathleen Wynne, the Premier of Ontario, which Kalam had visited on numerous occasions, expressed deepest condolences. As a respected scientist, he played a critical role in the development of the Indian space program. As a committed educator, he inspired millions of young people to achieve their very best. And as a devoted leader, he gained support both at home and abroad, becoming known as the People's President. I join our Indo-Canadian families, friends, and neighbors in mourning the passing of this respected leader. United States President Barack Obama extended deepest condolences to the people of India on the passing of former Indian President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and highlighted his achievements as a scientist and as a statesman, notably his role in strengthening U.S.-India relations and increasing space cooperation between the two nations. Suitably named the People's President, Dr. Kalam's humility and dedication to public service served as an inspiration to millions of Indians and admirers around the world. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed sincere condolences and conveyed his sympathy and support to the near and dear ones of the deceased leader, to the government, and entire people of India. He remarked on Kalam's outstanding personal contribution to the social, economic, scientific, and technical progress of India and in ensuring its national security, adding that Kalam would be remembered as a consistent exponent of closer friendly relations between our nations, who has done a lot for cementing mutually beneficial Russian-Indian cooperation. Other international leaders including former Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak, Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, President of the United Arab Emirates Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and Emir of Dubai Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum also paid tribute to Kalam. In a special gesture, Secretary General of the United Nations Ban Ki-moon visited the permanent mission of India to the UN and signed a condolence book. The outpouring of grief around the world is a testament of the respect and inspiration he has garnered during and after his presidency. The UN joins the people of India in sending our deepest condolences for this great statesman. May he rest in peace and eternity, Ban wrote in his message. Memorial. The Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam National Memorial was built in memory of Kalam by the DRDO in Paykirumbu, in the island town of Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu. It was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in July 2017. On display are the replicas of rockets and missiles which Kalam had worked with. Acrylic paintings about his life are also displayed along with hundreds of portraits depicting the life of the mass leader. There is a statue of Kalam in the entrance showing him playing the veena. There are two other smaller statues of the leader in sitting and standing posture. Religious and spiritual views. Religion and spirituality were very important to Kalam throughout his life. In fact, he made his own spiritual journey the subject of his final book, Transcendence, My Spiritual Experiences with Premak Swamiji. Islam. A proud and practicing Muslim, daily namaz and fasting during Ramadan were integral to Kalam's life. His father, the imam of a mosque in his hometown of Rameswaram, had strictly instilled these Islamic customs in his children. His father had also impressed upon the young Kalam the value of interfaith respect and dialogue. As Kalam recalled, every evening, my father A.p.j. Jainulabdeen, an imam, Pakshi Lakshmana Sastri, the head priest of the Ramanatha Swami Hindu temple, and a church priest used to sit with hot tea and discuss the issues concerning the island. Such early exposure convinced Kalam that the answers to India's multitudinous issues lay in dialogue and cooperation among the country's religious, social, and political leaders. Moreover, since Kalam believed that respect for other faiths was one of the key cornerstones of Islam, he was fond of saying, "For great men, religion is a way of making friends, small people make religion a fighting tool." Syncretism. One component of Kalam's widespread popularity among diverse groups in India, and an enduring aspect of his legacy, is the syncretism he embodied in appreciating various elements of the many spiritual and cultural traditions of India. In addition to his faith in the Quran and Islamic practice, Kalam was well versed in Hindu traditions. He learned Sanskrit, read the Bhagavad Gita, and he was a vegetarian. Kalam also enjoyed writing Tamil poetry, playing the veena, an ancient Indian string instrument, and listening to Carnatic devotional music every day. In 2002, in one of his early speeches to Parliament after becoming president, he reiterated his desire for a more united India, stating that, "During the last 1 year I met a number of spiritual leaders of all religions, and I would like to endeavor to work for bringing about unity of minds among the divergent traditions of our country." Describing Kalam as a unifier of diverse traditions, Congress leader Shashi Tharoor stated, "Kalam was a complete Indian, an embodiment of the eclecticism of India's heritage of diversity." BJP leader L.K. Advani concurred that Kalam was the best exemplar of the idea of India, one who embodied the best of all the cultural and spiritual traditions that signify India's unity in immense diversity. This was most strikingly evident in the second-to-last book he published, presciently titled Transcendence, My Spiritual Experiences with Premak Swami. Premak Swami as Guru. Kalam's desire to meet spiritual leaders to help create a more prosperous, spiritual, and unified India was what initially led him to meet Premak Swami, the Hindu guru of the BAPS Swaminarayan Sampradaya, who Kalam would come to consider his ultimate spiritual teacher and guru. The first of 8 meetings between Kalam and Premak Swami over a 14-year period took place on June 30, 2001 in New Delhi, during which Kalam described being immediately drawn to Premak Swami's simplicity and spiritual purity. Kalam stated that he was inspired by Premak Swami throughout their numerous interactions. One such incident occurred the day following the terrorist attack on BAPS Axhardham, Gandhinagar complex in September 2002. Premak Swami prayed for, and sprinkled holy water upon, the sites of all of the deceased, including the terrorists, demonstrating the view that all human life is sacred. Kalem recalled being moved by Pramukh Swami's equanimity and compassion, citing this incident as one of his motivations for writing Transcendence, My Spiritual Experiences with Pramukh Swamiji. Summarizing the effect that Pramukh Swami had on him, Kalem stated that Pramukh Swami has indeed transformed me. He is the ultimate stage of the spiritual ascent in my life. Pramukh Swamiji has put me in a God-synchronous orbit. No maneuvers are required anymore, as I am placed in my final position in eternity. Following Kalem's death a month after his final book was released, CO author Arun Tiwari pointed to this passage as potentially prophetic and premonitory of Kalem's death. In his book India 2020, Kalem strongly advocated an action plan to develop India into a knowledge superpower and a developed nation by the year 2020. He regarded his work on India's nuclear weapons program as a way to assert India's place as a future superpower. 147. I have identified 5 areas where India has a core competence for integrated action. 1. Agriculture and food processing. 2. Education and healthcare. 3. Information and communication technology. 4. Infrastructure, reliable and quality electric power, surface transport and infrastructure for all parts of the country, and 5. Self-reliance in critical technologies. These 5 areas are closely interrelated and if advanced in a coordinated way, will lead to food, economic and national security. Kalem describes a transformative moment in his life when he asked Pramukh Swami, the guru of the BAPS Swaminarayan Sampradaya, how India might realize this 5-pronged vision of development. Pramukh Swami's answer to add a 6th area, developing faith in God and spirituality to overcome the current climate of crime and corruption, became the spiritual vision for the next 15 years Kalem's life, which he describes in his final book, Transcendence, My Spiritual Experiences with Pramukh Swamiji, published just a month before his death. It was reported that there was considerable demand in South Korea for translated versions of books authored by him. Kalem took an active interest in other developments in the field of science and technology, including a research program for developing biomedical implants. He also supported open-source technology over proprietary software, predicting that the use of free software on a large scale would bring the benefits of information technology to more people. Kalem set a target of interacting with 100,000 students during the 2 years after his resignation from the post of scientific advisor in 1999. He explained, I feel comfortable in the company of young people, particularly high school students. Henceforth, I intend to share with them experiences, helping them to ignite their imagination and preparing them to work for a developed India for which the roadmap is already available. His dream is to let every student to light up the sky with victory using their latent fire in the heart. Please like and subscribe to my channel, is correct. For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. Yours Jelly Santosh Kumar.